Oh, okay.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Conservative Leaders Forum hosted by SD 17 will begin with a prayer done by Chaplain Jeb Strickland.
Thank you, Gail. If you would pray with me, please. Lord God, we thank you for this house and Johnny Teague and all of the good people who did vote, who took the time to go out and make their voices heard for Judeo-Christian principles. We thank you, Lord, that there are so many of us. We ask, Lord, for you to help us to increase our numbers, to increase our voices, to stand firm for the principles that you have given us in your holy word. We ask you, Lord, for wisdom and discernment in all of our deliberations with our neighbors, to encourage them to seek you, to seek your goodness, your truth. We ask, Lord, that you help us, you guide us, give us protection and other things necessary in order to bring your will to come to pass. We ask all these things in the wonderful, blessed name of Jesus, our Savior. Amen. Amen. And put your phones on.
Who's remaining standing?
I did that on purpose so we would remind everyone.
Where's your
Or
mic?
the,
You got that little mic you plug in?
quit again?
No. Do you need that little mic you plug in?
As a Democrat.
It would probably
Looking for money. Join me in pledge the U.S. flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the Texas pledge of allegiance.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated.
You do know we're supposed to go and honor the Texas flag and not.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You're supposed to really honor the Texas flag and not this.
Okay, so. Everybody likes news, right?
Yep.
But we're going to start with the bad news. The bad news is that the candidates didn't get as many votes as we had hoped they would get. But there's good news. And the good news is that we won more races since 2014. And 8 of our candidates, they were Justice, J.P. Court, and a State Board of Education. There's our list, folks. Outstanding number up there. We've got a bunch of the statewide folks up there also, but those in yellow, can you read them?
Did Jessica Padilla win her vote?
May need to, yes, Shelley?
No, go ahead. She made a
You
comment.
move over.
Yeah,
We got a problem again?
No, it just ain't gonna get both screens if you stand further over there.
Oh, that's a,
I don't
was
see
getting out of the screen.
Jennifer's name up there.
Okay, going forward. If you work early voting, oh, I'm sorry, Shelley.
No, there was a comment about Jessica Padilla. There were 5 judges who won. Jessica is one of them.
Oh,
Yes.
did I miss Jessica?
We didn't put all the, we didn't have any of the judges up there. So those are 5 female judges that aren't
Okay.
up there yet. But
Thank you.
we got-
Add
got all the state
add Jessica to the list there.
Yeah.
We'll correct that. So, if you would, if you worked early voting on election day, or you were a poll watcher or poll greeter, a ballot counter, please stand. Let's give them a big hand for all the work that they did. Thank you very much. Okay. And you knew Johnny Teague was a rancher? Most of you knew. Yeah. he cares as much about his cattle as he does about his flock in church, and he's taking care of his cattle this evening. Probably won't make it back before, because his ranch is some distance from here, but I just want to acknowledge the outstanding hospitality and openness that Dr. Johnny Teague has given us. You might send him a note. Primary election reconciliation sheet down at the bottom. It shows that almost 3,000 votes were received above the number of voters.
Imagine
And that number may increase as we go along with the
In what
audit here.
areas?
This is the Republican primary comparison with 2020, 2 years ago. Yes, ma'am.
The 3,000 that were above, what areas were those?
I didn't have that on the
Is
screen.
it Harris County or particular precincts?
I'm
Yeah, that
unsure.
reconciliation was for Harris, and we won't know where that comes from. We just know the number.
Okay.
And that's from Senate Bill 2 last session, forced them to do this kind of accounting.
Just for comparison, I listed all of the SDs up there. You want to go down to the next to last line, that's SD 17, that's us's, okay? And one of the things that you'll note, and I'm unable to put the red line on it, but I'll put it under and shoot it up for you. So, second line from the bottom, it'll say 49,078. That's the total number of primary voters. Then it'll say on the next column, 40,000 that actually voted 2022, and that'll show that 80% voted. Now we move over to the next line, and it shows those that voted in 2020. 45,000, remember we only had 40,000 in 22, 45,000 voted in 20, and that was 91%. We actually dropped 10% in Republican voters. You might make a note that they have a new reporting URL for us, and this one is totally controlled by Harris County Republican Party. The National Party is not involved in this particular one. We've got 3 speakers this evening, and then we're going to focus on debriefing and on our plans for 2023, 24, and so on. Just a little bit about SD 17. Almost 1 million folks there. Men and women, almost 50-50. You see how the races are divided out. Most people are making money, and most people are educated. On the last election, 700,000 people voted for President Trump. On this election, we only reached about 500,000 Republican voters. We're missing independents, okay? And we've got to get them in the next go round then. Just some more information on there. We've got these precincts, and 80% of those had a strong turnout. We had 225 registered voters, 5 congressional districts, 10 turned out for 2022 primary, and when we're talking about the precinct, some of them we had as high as 5-to-1 ratio on those. These are our current officers. I serve as chairman. James Clayton, raise your hand, sir, is our vice chairperson. Lauren, I knew she was coming in. Lauren Heath is our secretary, and Felicia Cravens is our parliamentarian. We have reworked the list on what we used to call the executive committee. Our focus initially for this past 4 months was to get the vote out and to get our candidates elected. And those same people that we call regional directors will be working, but they'll be working under a committee that will be directed by James Clayton. And we have now formed what we call the advisory board. We've added 2 members so far, Cindy Siegel. Cindy Wingo, I'm sorry. Siegel didn't make the cut.
No.
And,
It's not good, work hard enough.
we've got Judy Ottman. Unfortunately, Judy had to be out of town. She'll be missing it this evening, but I've conversed with her. So some of the things that are going on right now are things that you looked at already. I want to just reiterate one item on there for you. I put it in yellow. We were contacted by the Texas Republican Party, and they wanted to know how we were doing, what we were doing. They wanted to know how we got organized. They wanted to know how everything was set up. They wanted to know what the implementation schedules were and what the plans were. So we're putting together a document for them, and I will share it with you when we get it completed. We have 8 committees, and we'll be working more with those in the next few months here. And we have a number of people that are devoting their time to HCRP committees. We have 5 people from SD17 that are actually on the advisory board. Besides Felicia and myself, we have Nancy Scott, we have Jeb Strickland, and we have Mary Schneider. And we have about 13 people that are on various SD7 committees, and we're going to be adding more. I'll give you an example of just one committee. It's a Ballot Security Committee that I happen to serve on, but it's broken down into what we call the work groups. We've got one group working on voter poll maintenance. We've got one on mail ballot harvesting. That's the one I happen to be working on. That's checking the old folks, okay? And we start off with those folks that are over 100 years of age and see if they still voted, and then we check to see if they're still alive. Because it turns out a whole lot of these older folks get the vote from the grave, and that's not good. Right?
Very dedicated.
Anyway, we're then we have the poll watching, in-person voting, and campaign finance law that we're talking about. This is our speakers for this evening, and we're going to start off with our vice chairperson. That is an amazing lady. She has her doctorate in the aviation and space science. She actually spent a good portion of her life at an airport in Houston. Her father owned that airport, and you'll see that she learned her alphabet by filing the charts. All pilots have charts that they fly by, and every month they get new additions to the charts, and they have to file them away. That's the way she learned her airport. Actually, I know her even a little better than that, because I happen to have lived in the same neighborhood that her parents lived, and so I got to watch her grow up. And one of the things that her father did was teach me how to fly airplanes. Oh. And I bought a number of airplanes from him, and I kept a number of them hangared out there at West Houston Airport. Some of you may have been able to get out there when Jack Cagle did his campfire. That's the airport that we're talking about. So, help me welcome Shelley Devine.
Do you need me to use this?
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
whatever, sure. Yeah.
You look so patriotic.
Well, of course. Thank you for that great introduction. One thing, howdy, first of all. My undergraduate's from UT, my master's is from Texas A&M, so yes, I'm very passionate for Aggies and UT, so it works out great. And this is a perfect example, actually. I grew up, Gail was our next door neighbor, and I grew up to a wonderful, devout Christian and Republican. And, you know, these examples, you never know what ends up happening. Years down the road, I ran into Gail, I think at the convention, the state convention, not this one, the last one, and said hello to him. But yeah, so anyway, so thank you for that great introduction. One other thing, I'm gonna try to be quick because you've got a lot more important speakers here between Jeb and Felicia and Cindy. So yes, I'm the vice chair. I was elected in this room in October, and I took over from Dana, and she's got some heck of some shoes to fill because she's now our vice chair of the Republican Party of Texas, which is such a great blessing in more ways than one. First of all, Gail gave me the results of the election. Yes, we still have some people we need to get out. There's no doubt about it. Lena is still there, and I can't believe Jack lost. That was devastating to me personally in more ways than one. The wins are, for the first time, as Gail said, the first time since 2014, we have 5 countywide judges. And all those votes, all of us who voted for those appellate judges, we now have a full Republican slate on statewide appellate judges. So that's a huge deal. It's not perfect. One thing the HCRP learned, don't trust the polls. We did a poll in October, just before, about 3 weeks before the election, said Jack Cagle had a 10-point lead, Alex had a 2 to 3 point lead, and it was not right. So that's one lesson learned in more ways than one, and that actually happened with Trump. And by the way, I was appointed by the Trump administration to the FAA, so CAT committee, so I'm very proud and honored to say that. So what happened during the election? You guys have seen, even the Houston Chronicle has come out saying, and Kim Logg has filed a criminal investigation against what happened during the election. It was more than one aspect. There were machines that weren't working, there were ballots getting stuck, and the biggest issue that we had, and I was there and I mapped out these polling locations that ran out of paper. Running out of paper. Seriously? I mean, we don't believe in conspiracy theories, we believe in facts. And you sit there and you know these 23 locations mapped out in Republican areas ran out of paper. You go down 2 miles and the Barbara Bush voting location, primarily Democrat area, had 11,000 sheets of paper. Yes, that's what I said. And I said another word worse than Democrat. Well, okay, maybe not. So, with all of this going on, what happened at 10:30 in the morning, one of the staffers went down to Harris County and said, look, they're running out of paper. Rochelle at ETC said, no, you're not. They are not running out of paper. John Douglas, our staffer, said, yes, we are. She said, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the police and file a trespassing assault against you.
Oh my God.
An hour and a half later, that voting location ran out of paper. He never wanted to take it. He didn't want to take and deliver it. He wanted their clerks to go deliver it as per law. Never asked anything out of the ordinary. By the time it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, by the time it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 23 locations had run out of paper. Because there was one polling location that didn't open until 11 o'clock, a judge at 6:30 in the afternoon said, hey, you're going to keep this polling location open for another hour, which by law means all polling locations must be kept open for another hour. The judge said you have to make sure you guys get paper to those polling locations. An hour later, whenever the state of Texas overturned it, the judge said, did you guys ever get these guys paper? And they said, no, well, we couldn't. And she said, no, you said you could back then. And she said, I'm keeping this. Those votes from 7 o'clock to 8 do not count unless they were already in line. Think about that. Think about the headache that went on with these, you all, AJs and PJs, who've been there since 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and then you have to keep the polls open, and then it's 8 o'clock and you're shutting them down. Court order, you can't have any votes counting from 7 to 8 unless they're already in line, and now you have to go in and figure out which ones were and which ones weren't. I commend you guys. It was a tough day. I know it, and I've seen the polls. It was a tough day. What is HCRP doing because of that? Well, HCRP, Harris County Republican Party, cannot say, hey, we're going to overturn this election. They don't have the authority to do that. But what they did do is file against SB1 that this election was not run in accordance to what the state of Texas requires you to run it in. So now there's going to be an investigation. And they're using that with a test case. They're using that, and then any candidate can file, any defeated candidate, only a defeated candidate, thank you for that, only a defeated candidate can file and contest their own election. I can't, HCRP can't say, hey, if Jessica did lose or did win, we can't go in there and contest that. Only she can. And thank goodness she did win. She worked really hard. Well, everybody worked really hard. So Harris County Republican Party has already got Andy Taylor against it, just to work against it, just like Gail said. He was with he worked the Bush election in Florida. And we're filing it personally against Cliff Tatum, who's the EA, and Harris County. 3 days later, Kim Ogg, district attorney, filed criminal charges, is bringing in the Texas Rangers to help do an investigation as well. This is a continual fight. As of today, we still do not have a canvassed vote. They can't sit there and tell you how many votes went for one person versus another one yet. They're still counting the provisional votes. And there are some votes, there are some elections. Am I going over? I have 4 minutes left or 1 minute left? I'm sorry, somebody was giving me numbers.
Keep going.
Sorry.
Got 2 minutes.
But there's one election that has a 173 vote difference.
10 minutes.
That's in favor of a Republican judge. Another election is just 250 votes. So these people are on an edge. You've had over a week and you still haven't counted these votes. So we're fighting that in more ways than one. What can we do immediately? If you guys experienced any problems or any issues, go to defendmyballot.org and fill it out. If you didn't fill out anything last week when you were working the polls, fill it out here. If you know that somebody had 11,000 pieces of paper and you had none, or you ran out, or you had somebody who put in 2 ballots instead of 1, because there's been a lot of confusion. Somebody, if they got their second page of their ballot stuck, they would put in a whole new, they would give them a whole new ID number and they would vote again. That's why you have so many more votes than you do ballots. So more ballots than voters, thank you. So please fill that out. Go to the website, defendmyballot.org, and complete that. 1 more minute. Okay. The 2 other things that you can do is over the next year, go out and start an engagement. Go knock on 10 doors a week. Don't quit yet. I know we don't have an election right now, but go introduce yourself to more neighbors. Go out there and get their emails, their phone calls. Talk to them about faith, family, and freedom, our principles, and bring more of us to the party. I said that I think about my neighbor, Gail, when I was growing up, and you think about Christianity and the commonalities that we all have, and getting out and just saying hello to folks makes a huge difference coming into our party, and we've got to get our voters back. We've got to get those 200,000. We've got to bring in more than 200,000. I sometimes sit there and think why we don't have more people in our party right now, and it's just because I take blame for it because I haven't reached out as much. I've had conversations with people and somebody said, you sound like you're a liberal. And I went, no, I'm a Christian. I believe in my country. I believe in caring for people. I said, well, that's what liberals do, is care for people. He's like, no. Liberals sit there and pay for people to be taken care of. Conservatives, we take care of our people. And we believe in all those principles of working hard and helping and through our church and our faith and our family. And then, it's not over with. I know it's a hard time right now. We didn't get every election, but by golly, we got those 5 great judges. It's a great place to start. We're going to turn this back around. We're going to make a difference. I'm here to help. I'll answer any questions later on. If there's something else you need me to research, we'll get it for you. I got a timeout.
Can we not ask questions now?
Let's give her a big hand. Thank you so much, Kelly. Do me a favor, check the camera. I want to see if Shelley's still in the picture there.
Yeah, it's still
Is okay?
still
All
recording.
right. I was worried about that. So, I
We have a question.
told you about the individuals that we are.
Question.
Can we ask questions now, or do we need to wait?
We'll have questions later, okay? What I told you about the advisory board that we're setting up, and what I didn't tell you was the requirements for those individuals. You can probably surmise what some of those are going to be. They definitely have to be dedicated individuals, and they have to be accountable, and they have to have transparency, and they've got to be prompt. But one of my top requirements is innovation. We need to have new ideas. We need to have think tank type individuals, and we're lucky that we have one of those individuals. I gave her a charge just a couple days ago, and you're going to see the results of that today. So help me welcome Cindy Wingo.
Gail.
If you want to,
Did you get my little pop-up on there?
it's on there.
Okay.
I'm going to push the button and here you go.
Me and Hank.
It's set right inside, okay?
10 minutes or 15.
Yeah, he's got it.
Okay, so
That's what I was.
Gail asked me to help
Okay.
us get organized to fill up the rest of our missing precinct chairs in SD 17. So, after a little confusion on my part, I think I figured out what you want me to do. So anyway, that's our mission here, to fill these missing precinct chairs for these missing precincts. We have 28 of them in SD 17. Now, this is a kind of a rough map of our SD 17, of our different regions. And you can see number 1 is kind of west, Katy, and then up to Grand Parkway. That's when you talk about Region 1. And that's, James is in charge of that. Then we have Region 2. It's really not just the Barker Reservoir, although that is a precinct that we're not going to worry about filling that one. But that, I think that goes over to the other line, right? Yeah. Yeah. If that's 2, and then you can kind of see where 3 is kind of, goes kind of, 3's on the top of, that's 1093. And then 4 kind of goes on the bottom, it's kind of a boot on the bottom. And then 5, I mean, it's just gerrymandered. You know, when I was looking at these precincts, pulling them up last night, I was going, where is that? You know, for some reason I thought we were on the west side, but I guess in the big picture we're on the west side of the greater Houston area, and that's about all the west side is. But you can see how Region 4 is where we're missing the most precinct chairs, and you can see Region 4 is kind of down Alief into Missouri City. So that's probably going to be our biggest challenge, but we do need to fill those up. Let's see. So our focus is we're going to focus on just a couple of precincts at a time. I thought we could kind of all work together on that. Tonight we're focusing on 3. And the thing is, what we're working on is to top of mind, who do we know in these particular precincts? So I'm going to give you pictures of the precincts, and you can all take them home, and you can drive by and just think about it. Who do I know there? And then our goal is to fill up these 3 precincts by the end of the year, because we're not meeting in December, right, Gail? We're not.
No
December.
meeting
Yay.
because of December 13th.
What's December 13th?
That happens to be the most important debriefing session in all of Harris County.
Oh, okay. Okay, I won't be there. Anyway, okay, so if we can try to, you know, one thing that
happened, you know, we needed a precinct chair for that, northeast quadrant at, Grand Parkway and I-10. Well, there are two women in there from Republican Women's Club. I knew they lived there, but it just didn't click with me. Ask one of them. Well, good old Charles Waldy, he's hot on the trail. He went and left a message on Diana Lopez's door and said, why don't you be a precinct chair? And there she is, yay! But you know, it's just, you have to have it top of mind. You have to look on there and say, who do I know that lives in that area? So that's what I hope that we can kind of focus on through the end of the year. So this is, I don't know where my writing went. So this is precinct 119. It's in James's region. The reason I thought this one would be a good one is even though it looks like there's not a lot of people, this little area over here where it looks like there's streets, that's actually Ventana, that fairly new neighborhood. It's been there about 5 years, and it's big. I mean, there are neighborhoods all through there. There's a whole lot of development up there. So there should be someone in there that one of us knows that we can recruit to be a precinct chair. And then, let's see, this is precinct 1111. Oh, sorry. This one is one that does not have a precinct chair, but I am serving as the adopted precinct chairman. This precinct is kind of right behind Costco. It's all apartments. Yep. All apartments. So the approach here is to find one person in each apartment complex that can kind of serve as a team captain. Yep. And once we do that, if somebody, you know, kind of rises to the top, then maybe we will ask them to be a precinct chair. Again, Charles Waldy, he sent me a name of someone that lives in one of these apartments, and he met her at the working a Republican primary. And so I called her. She was like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll do it. And then she figured out what was involved, and she called me. She said, I can't do that. I said, that's all right. That's all right. You can be the team captain in your complex. So she almost came tonight, but she texted me and said she, you know, had to work late. So that's okay. But, you know, so it's a slow process. But, you know, if you drive through there, if you know anybody that lives in any of those apartments, you know, just call them. Let me know. I'll call them and try to just get them interested in just being the team captain in that complex. Because apartments are really big challenges because you just can't get into them. Nope. So we have to find somebody on the inside of each one. So the last one is 644. Okay, I don't know where my writing went, but however, this one is kind of Oak Park Trails. This is kind of over where behind our Republican office this year. There's a lot of, we know people that live here, that we should be able to dig up a precinct chair for this one. So these are the 3 precincts that I hope that we can work on. And actually, if we can just, I've got a picture of each precinct that I just mentioned, and if everybody will take one, take it home, and if you think of anybody that lives in any of these precincts, call them up and say, hey, look, it's time to step up, and then let me know, and we'll try to get them encouraged to sign up.
I think
now,
this one's different.
the next thing I wanted to touch on is the low-hanging fruit. Felicia gave us a list of people and phone numbers for different precincts that she thinks might be interested. So we have, I was hoping that somebody would be able to step up and call these people. James, I know you would like a break, but we got 4 people on this list that are in Region 1.
I should have 3 of them, right?
There should have 3 different precincts. There's 3 different sets of paper.
No, I think 3. What's the first?
Okay. Let's see. Jeb Strickland, I know you're here. You prayed. Where's Jeb?
He's handing out right back there.
Oh, okay.
You can hand them out?
Well, no, I was just going to see. Jeb, do you have time to call a couple of people? or called one person, actually, there's just,
That's the
Okay.
one I gave you.
okay, there's 3 different precincts, so make sure you get 3 different pieces of paper. What is this? Does everybody have precinct 644? No? Okay, you need one right here. I brought, there's 3 different precincts.
Yes,
Okay, he needs
I
a
gave them to
644.
everybody.
You need a 6, he needs a 644.
I've got 1111, yeah, that's what we've got right here, 1111.
Okay, he needs a 644.
More.
Okay. I know we can figure this out.
All right, all right.
You're good, you got 6.
Felicia,
I started with Nancy, didn't I?
they need 644s over there. You got any extras over here? There's 3, there's 644, there's 1111, and then there's, what's the other one? 119?
Is that what that means, 1086?
19.
This is, oh,
19, I don't
there's
have
119,
Okay.
right there.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Okay, Jeb, who's Jeb? Oh, okay. Jeb, we've got a person that Felicia came up with that might be a good,
Planning Commission. Okay, I got you.
that might be interested in being a precinct chair, and there's a phone number there.
I didn't get one of yours.
Okay, so give him a call.
I only got one.
Is Bob here?
One in red.
Anybody else need a 644?
644, look, oh, I got it.
Okay. Is Bob Simichek here? No? No, he's not here. Okay. Would anybody volunteer to take these phone numbers, under Bob Simichek? Anybody got some time to
I'll
just?
take it, whatever you
Okay.
need for Bob.
Yeah. Just tell them to call them and see if they might be interested in being a precinct chair.
Okay.
And then is Buffy here? No, you want to give that to Buffy? It's a good thing you came. Miles Worsham? Miles here? I don't know Miles. Mills? Worsham, is he here? No? Okay, would anybody volunteer to do that for Mills? There's 2 people to call in 2 of our precincts. Anybody?
Well, I'm in his region.
Oh, maybe you could call them. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the person in charge.
Thank you.
Okay, you just call these 2 people here? Right there. See if they would be interested in being precinct chairs. And I don't know Bill Frazier either. Who's Bill Frazier?
We went to his house. Isn't that the guy who's
Oh, was that Bill Frazier?
Yeah.
1119.
Oh, okay. I can't remember anybody's
He had
name.
that killer house so that we could.
Does anybody know Bill or is in his
I
precinct?
know him, I can text it to
Okay,
him.
Miss Nancy, so glad you came tonight. You are our deliverer, okay?
So hey Cindy, real quick, so the names on here, how did we pick these? Were these like primary
Felicia
voters?
came up with them, and I don't know where she got them. but
She'll explain.
High level, just were they primary voters?
I will explain.
She's gonna,
She has a time.
okay, so that's our low-hanging fruit.
Oh, that's, she's in.
Let's call them, see if anybody would be interested in being a precinct chair. Okay, so if you find someone that says, maybe I will, so what do you tell them? So the first thing they do is they go to Harris County CRP, okay? Then you tell them to click that top button that says Take Action, and then that takes them to the next page where there's a little square to be a precinct chair, okay? So that is probably maybe where we lose them once they see what's involved. If they call you back and say, I just can't do that. But say, okay, fine, can you be like a block captain? So let's try to still keep them and get them to start coming to our meetings and get them involved with this process. And, okay, so our new recruits, one thing you might want to tell people, so they're prepared for this process, if they step up and say, okay, well, I will, they need to understand that they're going to be interviewed. I remember when I became a precinct chair, I had no idea that I was going to have to go before the board and ask me all these questions. I just didn't know that. I thought all you had to do is raise your hand and say, yeah, I'll do it. And anyway, just let them know that they will be interviewed for that position, and then they will go to an orientation, and we'll train them. We're not just going to throw them out there. So be sure and let them know that process of what happens. And then with all of our precinct chairs, I think January 18th is the date we've come up with, but we're gonna try to have like a little workshop and just kind of like, I know that everybody here's a seasoned veteran on being a precinct chair, but sometimes it's good to just have a refresher. We talk about new ideas, you know, we talk about new technology. So we're gonna have a workshop for everybody on that day.
What day is that of the week?
January 18th, I think it's a
January 18th,
Wednesday.
It's a Thursday, isn't it?
Thursday,
It's a Thursday in January.
7 p.m.
18th's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
19th is
We'll make it the 19th
Thursday.
then, how's about that?
19th
Oh,
is
it's
a
gonna be the
Thursday.
19th?
I guess so, it's Thursday anyway.
19th is a
Okay,
Thursday.
it's Thursday, the 19th, not the 18th. Okay, we're gonna have to look at our calendars before we make our PowerPoints. Okay, and that's it. That's all I've got. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. 3 days work is amazing.
What?
3 days work is amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, you're gonna enjoy this next speaker. I spent a lot of time after Nancy Scott ran me off when I joined up with Felicia, and I've spent about 5 years with this lady. She's not only the SD7 parliamentarian, she's also the parliamentarian for the entire Harris County Republican Party. And she's a very knowledgeable individual. One of the things that I think is probably most important about her is the fact that she's not only energetic, but she's the innovative type that I told you that we needed in it. So help me welcome Felicia Taylor. As she comes up, I want to tell you, you've probably seen the napkin where people build their business, right? Some of you have seen that type of thing. So I got one of those. That's my napkin. That is Felicia's notes on what needs to be done. And for you, I transcribed it.
Cause y'all can't.
This is
read
what
it.
this is what it looks like now.
Yay.
You won't need to.
No, I will need this though, yeah, my voice is that enough. All right. First of all, I want to say that we have not spent enough time thinking about what a monumental, sorry, I can speak, thing that we accomplished on November 8th. Everybody's kind of irritated and frustrated, but we mobilized more people to do more things than we have in ages, and the results showed it. I wanted you to look. Gail, can we go back to the slide where you had the differences in the primary turnout? Can you get that slide back up for us? The differences in the primary turnout for 22 and 20?
Oh,
I just wanted to start with this because I thought this was interesting. All right, so what we're looking at, and I have it in print form in front of me, and I made copies, but not enough for all of you. What we're looking at when we look at all of the precincts that, or all of the Senate districts, the 8, is it 8? I don't remember, it's 8, I think. Senate districts. When we have that come up, I'll explain what's, oh my God, there it is, okay. So what Gail cut off on the end is what the total difference, or what he didn't get on here, is the difference in what we should have turned out based on what we had in 2020. So the people who voted in the primary in 2020 but didn't come back, there were 41,000 votes that we potentially left on the table, roughly. That's people that we didn't get to come out from 2020 to now, or who came to the primary and didn't follow through with November. Now let me tell you some of the margin of loss for some of the candidates that were countywide. Let's see. Of course, Abbott lost by 104,000 in the county. That's a big lift anyway. That was never going to happen. But Tanya McLaughlin for a district judge, 6,000.
Oh.
6,000 is within the margin of extra ballots that we have. Michael Landrum, 14,000. Now, how many did I say? 41,000 people that we just couldn't find and drag out. Alexandra Mueller, 17,000. Elizabeth's Bus Criminal Court, 2,500. 2,500. Cagle, 7,800. Chris Daniel, 24,000. It's still within that margin. Stan Stannard, 33,000. And Kyle Scott, 34,000. That's on us in the long-term kind of thing. Hang on to that, because I'm going to get to some things that may circle back to you. That's on us in a way, but we still managed to pull so many people in and have them be excited enough to come and vote. And I think we may not have had everything and spent it on the field, but we came pretty darn close. There's a lot we can do with more time now, but this was an amazing result, even that we got that close in this blue of a county now. So that said, we're going to get the canvas soon. The canvas is going to tell us precinct by precinct what we did and where we looked. So I think 17 is going to, I'm going to make a prediction, 17 is going to look really, really good on our results. And then there's places elsewhere in the county that didn't quite get that lift that we did. But we'll look at things like the turnout overall, the Republican turnout, the portion of that, what it was compared to 20 and 18. We're going to look at, we're going to look at trying to dig out those 200,000 Trump voters. And where I think we start looking for those people is folks who voted in 16 or 20 or both who have no other voting history, just the 16 general and the 20 general. I have those lists. I've gotten those from the party and the data people. And so we could start combing through those lists, and those are people that we can start building relationships with. Long term, we can invite them to things. I think we'll find them buried in there. There's another program Bob Sumachuk talks about. We may look into something called Ben Verified. And Ben Verified is supposed to help you with getting good phone numbers and emails from people. I don't know how it works, but it's an idea to think about. And that's the stage that I think we need to be at right here, is bouncing ideas off each other. We will shortly do that. I just wanted to run through some things to get in your head now. We want to have events that people can go to. Things that people can, with very low investment, get eased into this. I think when we approach people and we say, hey, let's go to this major event, and then they get intimidated. But we start building those relationships with people and give them something simple to go to, then we might be able to develop those relationships where we can say, hey, now we need a hand at this area. Let's see. All right, one of the ways that we can bring people in is by projects. Little projects that don't have a huge lift for each individual, but that combined, they can put a lot of good knowledge and effort together. One of those, we don't know how many people vote religiously in school board elections, but don't come to our primary. We can compare those lists, and we can switch that. Who do we have in our primary that doesn't pay any attention to school board races? We've got 6 months until the next school board races that are coming. This is the time to go find those people and start having the Republicans have an influence in school board races more than we do, but also start getting those voters who care about education to start looking at Republicans as the party they trust. We're also going to be able to ID all the school districts that we have in 17 and start looking at ways. Can we put together events that can bring in some of the students? Can we have a civics bee? Can we do some kind of interesting activity that they'll get something out of? Also, and I cannot read my own writing when I don't have my glasses on, it's such a shame. One of the things that they are really popular with, that's really popular with school districts is candidate debates or interviews or whatever you would call them. It would be interesting if we started hosting some of those. Maybe we'd have, a non-confrontational thing, not a debate, just one candidate comes in for 15, 20 minutes and says something for 5 and takes questions, and then the next candidate comes in, and people could see that without all the conflict and the friction. That might be a good thing to be investing our time in. I want us to start also thinking about who the precinct chairs are that have gone above and beyond. I'm going to point James out again because James just lifted so much out on the west side. And I appreciate the model he has been to me and the way that he stimulates my thinking. And we want to also praise new precinct chair efforts. So we should start thinking about ways to appreciate those folks. And I want us, above all, to keep this in mind, and that is let's focus on what we can affect. I don't want anybody getting discouraged because they didn't feel like this was a success. There were a lot of successes we're not talking about yet, but that we will within the coming weeks. We did amazing work. We're going to do more with more time and more people to throw at the problems. So don't get discouraged by what you see on the news or any of that. We built in just a few months, all of us here and the ones who are not here, built something that was amazing. And it's time to launch it and make it go further.
Thank you so much.
And just a little bit later, we're gonna call up, all three of the, speakers. You're gonna have a chance to, ask some questions. The moment you guys have been waiting for, pull out your pieces of paper. The ones that you made all those notations on. They look like that. We're going to start, and Ms. Heath, now you come into action, ma'am. You got one of these that you can mark on? What we're going to do is call out each one of these pre-marked items. We, rather than getting into diatribes and all that type of thing that takes up an awful lot of people's time, we went ahead and prepared a form of the most common incidences and issues that we thought about, and all we asked you to do is to put a check mark on those. And when we get through, we will collect all of those papers, and they will go into the next debriefing session, which will be on the 13th of December at Trinity Mendenhall, and 7 p.m. That'll be run by Alan Vera. So, are you guys ready? You got your sheets?
Hey, Gail?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I think we have one. You need to hand some of those out. Not everybody got a sheet of that.
Did you not pick it up when you registered?
Some came later.
Some came late.
They
some
may have
didn't
come
get
in
one.
after we started, and so they probably didn't.
Ah, latecomers.
Oh, he
I
called you
understand,
out.
Martha. Raise your hand if you need one.
There goes. Yeah.
Okay, everybody got one? Let's get rolling. First item is early training was inadequate. So,
Raise your hand.
if you had that situation, put a check mark. You know what a check mark looks like? Just a little check mark, okay? Put it on there. If you want to add a very brief description, you can do that also. Now, the next part is, and I've asked George and, let's see, I think James, why don't you take that side if you would. George, you're going to take this side. I'd like you to raise your hand if you check that box, okay? Everybody, raise your hand if you check the box. And
For early training.
Inadequate.
okay, and then you report that to Lauren. You tell her how many? You tell her how many. Okay.
This is
What
All
are
right,
you asking?
next,
Did you check number one?
next question.
Just raise your hand.
Had a problem
What did, are you asking?
getting approved.
You're just getting told, okay.
You're just getting totals. Yeah.
You had a problem getting approved, Donald? Okay.
Can we start over, because not everybody was clear with the,
Okay.
what you're asking for?
Check it.
That's why I put it on the board, but I'll do it again for you. Here you go. We're gonna call out the first issue. If you have that first issue, put a check mark on that issue. Then we're gonna call out for you to raise your hand. Raise your hand. James and George are gonna count, and they're gonna give the total to
Had a problem with number
Lauren,
one.
okay?
So the first issue is the
So,
training.
raise your hand if you got that problem on item number 1, early training was inadequate. Thought everybody's hand ought to be up, but anyway, it was for me.
Oh, I can do that.
Here's one,
Okay.
here's one. Yep.
I don't know what you have over there.
Next item, had a problem getting approved.
Approved for what?
To work.
And that's approved for positions like
Clerk or
being a election clerk or whatever,
I thought he was on
okay?
the second one.
So, mark it, raise your hand.
You get that one, Lauren.
Okay, now you're on approved. Now,
Okay.
Number 2.
Next item, supply pickup lines were excessively long. Mark that, and any of those that are PJs that picked up supplies will tell you.
Okay.
Materials dropped off lines were too long. Those of you that didn't get to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning, your hand ought to be up. Problem opening the polling place. That means you opened late. I know a number of you had late openings. Okay? Next one. Items missing from supplies. I knew Newell's got his hand up.
Here's new.
You getting them counted? Keep your hands up, folks, for just a minute. Make sure we get them all counted. Okay. Next item, duos broken down. Keep your hands up so these guys can get it. Next, scanner broken down. Inoperable or worked or jammed or whatever. Nobody had a problem with the scanner jamming?
I wrote it down.
Okay.
You had one? You
He's
did?
got-
Just one here, right?
Next is cables failed. I know what that's like.
What does that mean?
A cable is a cable that runs from one duo to the next duo to the next duo.
I had a bad hair.
And they didn't work, bad cable.
Swap it out.
Okay. Next item, ran out of ballot paper. We've got a few of those. Some of us were lucky and we managed to script by. We ordered paper, it just didn't come in. Okay. That's the next item, excuse me. Ordered paper but never received it. Knew you ordered paper, it
Well,
never
it's
came
down
in.
on the ballots, ballot paper.
Ballot paper.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's down at the bottom.
Okay.
Next is, had too few voting machines. Some of you are in that situation. We were lucky we did not
Well,
have
actually,
that problem, but raise your hand on that
Nancy,
one
you
and
good?
check it. You're gonna turn this in. Unable to reach Harris County support. Did you hear a busy signal?
Or no response?
Everybody's hand ought to be up on that
they
one.
hung up on you.
Okay, next item. Had long waiting lines. Had some of that.
That's a subjective.
Yeah,
But it's
thank
okay.
you. It's
That's
very
subjective, so what's a long waiting line? If you got more than 10 people or what? I mean, I
What
don't
do you
know what a
have,
long
30
waiting
people?
line is, because they're all an hour long.
Well, they were all long.
How about more than a 40-minute wait?
More than 15
Yeah.
minutes. If people were waiting more than 15.
Oh, then I would go.
But if you had to wait longer than 10 minutes, well, that's a long
Okay,
line to
say
me.
10 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
I'll count, 10 minutes or over.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm on now.
10 minutes.
30 minutes, I think, but it's okay. That's the subjective.
You'd rather have it 30 may be a longer line, right? Okay. Next, receiving the wrong password. You guys, those of you that are particularly PJs, I know we went through it. We got the wrong password.
So I got the right one, but I had problems with it actually working.
So that's still a problem. That's a problem. Yeah.
Okay. Voter got the wrong ballot type.
Style.
Did you get one of those, Lisa?
The whole ballot style thing was confusing.
Did you-
Very confusing.
I don't know if it's happened this time. I know it happened last time. sometimes the election judge would have a little pad of the barcodes. And when it came time to scan, rather than to scan on the screen, they would scan the barcode there. Mike Schofield lost by 133 votes. It turned out that somebody in Deer Park, one of the precincts and polling places in Deer Park, had put Mike Schofield for them to vote on. Oh, what a mess. Anyway, election clerk untrained. You got some of those? Yeah.
I'm gonna call
Might as
it
well have been.
So my AJ, that was his first time ever working.
All right.
Yeah,
Good.
that same thing with
Okay.
me.
Next, multiple voter names displayed.
What is
They
that?
come up on
mean?
there
I don't know what that
when
is.
you
What does that mean?
I think I had that.
when you were checking them in
Oh, that was for the clerk.
for the clerk. Yeah,
Yeah, gotcha.
that's not the.
So when you checked voters in, you saw like somebody being registered at that, there's like way too many people at that address, like too many, like same name, having 4 Lauren Hesses, you know what I mean, like if that had happened.
Oh, then I didn't really have.
For the same address?
Well,
Yeah.
it would be kind of like, John Brown, okay?
John Brown 4 times, or 3 times, 2 times? Okay.
Okay.
Not
Chain of custody not followed.
Okay.
Yeah. Most important thing, for instance, these polling places where they had one of the Harris County employees come by and pick up the ballots, there's no guarantee what that chain of command was gonna be, okay? So hopefully you didn't get caught in that situation.
Chain of custody.
In early voting, we had our ballot bag picked up 3 times, and when they did it, the constable came to open the ballot box, but then they had a county employee go take them in, and the constable didn't go with the county employee. They just walked them to the car. And
That's what I'm talking about, chain of command.
Yeah.
That's
Chain of custody.
unbelievable situation. Okay.
Only custody.
Problems with the actual room itself. Got some that had problems, okay? Either the PJ or the AJ violated rules.
No.
And,
How about also ADA?
oh, okay.
Oh, not AJ.
Good question about the ADA. You can put that in there with those, okay?
So
Got the count?
AJ violated rules. Decide.
I stopped them.
how about the PJ?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, all right. Provisional procedure
That's the fifth of
not
them.
followed. The provisional ballot, not followed. What we've seen in the past is that the presiding judge would just have them vote regular after they'd filled out the provisional ballot. Now, we all know that that tape is a little bit longer on that provisional ballot. Interference by a poll watcher. Did that happen at all?
Didn't have full watches.
Didn't have one.
Yeah,
I had an unusual circumstance. It
Okay.
was not an official poll
No
watcher.
poll watcher.
Well, maybe
I'm not sure.
maybe we have to add, maybe that's one that goes down at the bottom line there, George. Paper jams in the duos, okay. We got, everybody had that, right?
Hundreds of them.
I don't think
Okay,
there
right,
was a
keep your
polling
hand.
place that
I'm
didn't have
counting
it.
out here.
Paper jams?
Okay.
Is that where we are?
Cause can you just say that the
Everybody,
paper didn't feed properly?
Very
Because
good
those are
enough.
rejected most
Yeah,
of
it
the
really
time.
wasn't a jam,
Or
it
printed,
didn't
yeah,
feed
double
properly.
It
printed.
did all
Just didn't
kinds of
feed
things.
properly, okay?
Okay.
just take
So
the
that's,
machine
how
up
many?
and put it in.
On this side, 1, 2, 3.
All right, same thing that applied to the scanner, okay? Where we had, the paper didn't feed correctly on the scanner. You catching the count?
You only had 1 on 2?
I see 2 there. Okay. Problems with the iPad. Got a few of those. Problem reconciling the voter count.
Oh,
No, I think that was a
There
joke.
wasn't any reconciling.
everything was different.
There ought to be his hand, shouldn't there? Okay. PJ preventing poll watchers. Any of that happen? I've heard of some of that. We just might have got lucky with this group. Poll watchers talking with voters. Not a problem. Okay. No answer from support calls.
Yes.
Whole bunch of those. All right. PJ receiving the wrong password. Guess we're all right there. Ran out of ballot. Didn't I have that once before? Ran out of ballot.
Yeah, but last.
Is it donated twice? It ought to be. we can get them both done.
Last
Okay.
7, almost all those are repeat.
Ballot paper order never received. Okay. Wrong ballot type, I guess. Text showed up late. How about that one?
Didn't show up.
Yeah.
How about tech ineffective? Had no idea what they were doing.
Didn't know what he was doing, huh? Okay. Mark that down as a separate line, if you would.
I did.
Multiple voter names displayed. Well, we did that one already, didn't we?
Did all of those things.
Did all those bottom ones. I was duplicating, wasn't I? Forget about the bottom part of that section there. Just cross it out, if you will. And then make sure, Lauren, that you got George's votes over here to count in with yours. And then George and James, if you would, pick up the ballots and bring them to me.
Can you
Turn them in.
Gail?
All right, you guys.
Gail.
And that is, do you have an inordinate
Oh,
number?
you already turned it in? I want to turn.
Change it. No, we didn't work to
I
change
have
it.
So,
Oh, okay, no worries.
I have a
if you've
question.
got something additional, write it down on the page.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, just put it on.
Just write it on the, I just think, I turned away 3 voters,
Did you get a page?
and, you know, what's to
I just
prevent
wanna
them
know
from
if
going to
everybody else
another
had
precinct to try to vote over there? They all voted because they were not registered properly, or,
So what was your issue?
my issue was,
No, no, so did they vote provisionally or did they just
no,
show?
they simply couldn't vote at all.
They weren't registered?
They weren't registered. So, but what's to stop them from going?
Those,
You doing
I'm going to encourage each and every one of you on the 13th of December to be at Trinity Menon Hall at 7 p.m. because that's where we're going to find out some more things that happened that.
I'm not part of it, yeah.
10 minutes.
Yes.
Oh, no, hold on, yeah.
Oh, my 10 minutes is up. I'm sorry, folks. Okay. Now, let me go on a little bit further here, if you don't mind. All right. I want to talk a little bit about our plans for 2023, 2024, and so forth.
Yes.
The restructuring of the advisory board, we've started that.
You got it?
yep, done.
There you go.
We want to set a goal for each precinct. You're not
Thank
in the
you.
papers now.
He's working on
Of, goal on each precinct, just on this corner, of having at least 10 people that are working as a team to help get out the vote and all of the things that James's regional coordinators need to work with. Number 3, on a monthly basis, this advisory board is going to review where we are, where we're going, and what we need to correct, and so forth. We're going to determine, generally they're May and November type dates on these, but we want to find out every single ISD or MUD or EDS or EMS, whatever they are, entities that are having elections that we can have some influence on. Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind. We're putting together a timetable starting with the success we want to have on November the 5th and moving it back to where we come back today. And we'll publish that timetable for you with the actions that need to be taken. We want to continue with the work that James' crew is doing here for contacting our voters and doing block walking, building a database, showing the, whatever, the 28, 29 open precincts the city's working on. We want to implement. The committees didn't do a whole lot because we were focusing on get out the vote and block walking and those other things. But now we want to make sure those committees are all working. We want to get a few more people involved with the Harris County Republican Party. Every third Thursday for the next year is scheduled. We've got a venue for the third Thursday. They're scheduled. Put it on your calendar. Tom Novus, sometimes Dedra Fight, but Tom Novus does an outstanding job. Most of you have received the information. Either you got it from Tom or you got it from me sending Tom stuff out. But staying on top of that legislative calendar, and I mean it's already a mile long, but it's going to get worse. And the chairman of the Harris County Republican Party has asked that the SD chairs appoint someone as a legislative coordinator for that. Make sure we get all the information. And I'm also going to appoint a social media coordinator. I think that's one of the most important things that we can accomplish. I'll give you an example here. That's a post that I did on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, MeWe, Rumble, Social, Truth Social.
I don't even know what they are.
And
Lots of,
the question
lots
is,
of,
how many people forwarded that post?
I did.
Right here on the front seat there.
So, Gail, for example, Telegram. What's the Telegram
Channel
channel? Yeah, what's it under?
for Harris County.
I don't know that we have
Like it'll
one,
say
Lisa, that I'm aware of.
HTTPS t.me, and then it'll have the name of the.
I don't think they have one.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Is
It
because
was on
I'm on
Facebook.
Telegram, and I'm on Truth Social.
You can post it. You can
Yeah, you
post
can post
it.
stuff. I
You can
just-
post stuff on
I
Telegram.
just
Yeah,
don't
I think
know
you
Well,
what-
he just said.
Yeah, that's-
Everyone
You can just hit your own.
ought to be posting every week. We got to start getting the public knowledgeable of what's happening. And if you're silent, it ain't going to happen, folks.
Right.
So see if you can fit that into your schedule. It only takes a few minutes. This is a list of coming events. You're going to get that next Monday morning when I send out the newsletter anyway. But I want you to remember the 13th of December, because that's our next meeting. We canceled the SD 17 meeting in December so that we can focus on this meeting on December the 13th. I like the way the Republican Women's Club of Katy promotes their events. They do an outstanding job. Make sure you attend some of those. I always bring up mass texting. I'm sorry that Judy Ottman is not here, but she got started on using the mass texting program, and she's had some fantastic results with that. So many other people consider it. And before we sign off, I'm going to ask if Cindy and Felicia and Shelley would you folks mind coming up front?
Questions?
For just a moment. We're going to have a quick question session. If some of you have a question.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
I just want to say something, and I meant to say it about Felicia. This is the first time we had a full rapid response team, and this woman was there the entire day, monitoring, handling it, managing it. And the rapid response team literally took all the calls from people who couldn't get paper had a machine not working, fixed every issue that was possibly under the control. This woman deserves a huge hand because she was there for so many people.
So, those of you that had questions, let's cover it very quickly. Yes, ma'am?
How many of the losing candidates have filed challenges or have you expect to
Lawsuits.
file?
How many losing candidates have filed?
Give her a mic.
Since it has not been, the vote has not been canvassed, has not been counted, nobody has filed yet.
So you can't, right?
Nobody can.
You can't until, yes, thank
You
you.
cannot, right?
You can't file until you vote, and you have 45 days after that to file. A candidate, a defeated candidate can file 45 days after that.
Do you expect that there will be?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey Shelley, do you expect that all will?
No. The question was, do you expect that all will file? The answer is no. Yes, sir.
Got a question for Felicia. Felicia, you mentioned chasing voters as far as tracking them down. It makes sense. Done that. What have you all done as far as some of what Mike Lindell's group has done as far as cleaning up the voter rolls and the success they had up in Wisconsin?
I'm glad you asked that because there's been an ongoing procedure headed up in our area by Steve Carlin to go do that. And so there has been that effort, and that is an ongoing perpetual project that we can bring people in, especially when we're in this climate where we had really bad performance by the election administration. We could talk to people. Do you feel confident in that vote being counted correctly? If not, let's start doing some cleanup. And one of the first places to start is make sure people who are not eligible to vote are not voting. And that's a great project to be on. And it has been, like I said, ongoing around the county.
That's one of the high priorities of the ballot security committee, sir. They're working on it daily.
On cleaning up,
We hear you.
on cleaning up the voter rolls, I have 2 retirement centers, and I already have a long list from one of them of people who have died or have moved. So who do I turn this into?
That's something I'm working on, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you a story.
That's
No, I
my,
think we
my niche
need
is
to-
the old folks.
We need to do this, and as many of them as possible, find somebody in there, they won't give you the directory or but you find somebody who has one and they can go through it and just tell you. So give them the list of the registered voters there, and they'll just mark off and say, moved, died.
You could find a story online where Ann Bennett Harris, who is the voter registrar for the county, has claimed that it is not their responsibility to clean up rolls for people who are ineligible to vote. That's disgusting.
And it's not that I can go scratch them off the list. They have to have someone that verifies, the relative or whatever, that verifies that person's actually passed away. So it's not
I know,
simple,
I've removed a lot
but it
of
needs to be
them.
done. Yeah.
Can they
Maybe
look up
what's
the
the
death certificate?
obituaries?
They can.
Yeah.
Of course they can.
Yes. Can
Of
you
course
use
they
a death
can.
certificate?
They just don't want to.
Can you
Come on.
use a death?
I have people who have come to me as an early vote alternate judge. Say, my husband is still getting voter registration cards. What do I do? And they can't, no matter what they've done, they can't get them removed. So we, try to help them send it back in and write a note on it. You make sure that she's reporting that not just to the county, but to the state. But there's probably eventually going to have to be legislation mandating.
I was gonna say,
That-
why is it so difficult?
It's a typical stall that we're getting on everything else.
I know, I asked.
It's not easy.
It's a dumb, and it's not a dumb question. It's a,
Yes,
I know it. Go for it.
you know, I don't even need the mic. I was in Commissioner's Court the other day, with the director, actually, that runs the voting, early voting and the voting polls. And basically, he said he would have an accurate count on the 22nd of this month.
Yes, he did say that.
Okay. That's what he told
We were just-
Garcia and Ellis.
Yeah, and Jubb and Gail and I were, and I think, we were was just on a call with Cindy and Siegel, our chair, and the disappointing news is, as of now, as of what she said, Tuesday they will have the canvas count. They will have the count by Tuesday. So that's, Tuesday is the 22nd, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we heard.
So that's, yes, it's gonna be Tuesday the 22nd. How many days after a vote?
2 weeks.
Another problem, you know, since I'm not in this Senate district, I'm in Senate District 6, okay? Basically, what is left out there, you know, y'all would, if y'all just imagine, you know, all of the airport or people around Bush Intercontinental Airport, those houses out there, there's probably about 500,000 people out there that we could target.
Of course.
That engagement, and actually just exactly a lot of points that Felicia was making, going out and doing something a little bit different right now, going to Kiwanis, going to a high school, talk about what a precinct chair does. They're not going to let us in saying, hey, we're conservative and Republicans, but they're going to let us in if we talk about, this is the process, and this is why I got involved in the process. Make it your story, but talk about the precinct chair. You know, I guarantee you, the kids in our school districts do not know what precinct chairs does, or even how the Harris County, how Harris County functions. And the reason why I say that, because that's your in to go talk to Kiwanis, go talk to the schools, go become a speaker at all these different events, and bring in more people to the party. We have to think something out of the box.
I'm gonna turn it over to Felicia to cover that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I want to add to the list of Felicia.
Take the mic, please.
I think so.
I would like to add to the place of Felicia because this is from Tom Sumichek. He gave an idea, but when, you know, unfortunately I cannot use that a whole lot, but we can prepare for next time. You know, like how elementary school parents stay in the line to pick up their kid. He told us to, you know, go and ask if you're a voter, and if they said yes, please vote for who and whom.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So he said that for elementary and middle school.
Sure.
Because most of the parents pick them,
Pick
you
up
know,
the
some of
kids.
them pick them up.
The drive line.
Yeah.
The drive line.
Hours.
Awesome. Very good idea.
As long as they don't throw you off the property.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be on the property, are you?
Well, I mean, right,
Yeah,
they'll call.
George, you have a question?
Can't solicit
Well,
them.
at the risk of sounding ignorant, I heard this gentleman back there talking about the canvassing count. What is the canvassing count? Just so I understand what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so we have the preliminary count that's up on the website now, and that's where I got the numbers I was telling you about, which candidates had failed to win, by how much, but by a certain date, and it's supposed to be by a certain date that we're apparently not gonna reach, then they have the final certified count. That's all the provisionals, that's the mail-in ballots handled, that's everything that's been waiting to come in or waiting to have the actual count, dealing with any challenges. What they do when they do provisional ballots, or they do like the scan, or the ballots don't print properly and they won't go in the scan, they go in the emergency sheet. There's always a process they have to go through to try to recreate those ballots or to interpret, again, like hanging chads in 2000, interpret the voter's intent, get the ballot in there right so it's done properly. It takes time to do that. So they have that window of like 10 to 12 days, something like that.
So where I'm going with that question, now that I have a little bit better understanding, is so as a poll watcher, we see the tape, and then we're supposed to reconcile the ballot count to the tape. So when you're talking about canvassing the vote and having an accurate vote, what are they counting from, say, the election day? Are they counting the actual ballot, or are they counting the tape?
They're counting based on the electronic data that's in there. The ballots are never used again unless there's a recount or a challenge. So they're going by all that electronic data, but to get it, they have to scan in everything so it gets on a drive.
Scan everything, what in? From what?
All the ballots that came in.
Paper goes into
the paper that
paper that
didn't
goes
make it.
tabulator.
Into the paper that's scanned into the scanner drops down into the
Right.
container.
So the
container.
record for those that actually went in properly is on they call it a V drive.
Okay, now time out. Nothing matched up.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing. We couldn't reconcile
Correct.
anything. So
Correct.
I can understand why there might be confusion.
Yes.
But so then I go back to Shelley here. All I hear about is all these ballots that are missing. Well, I had 3,600 unused ballots at my Democratic polling location. We didn't use nearly that many the whole day. But I think we had a bigger problem with the machines, and who's to say how big that problem was? And I looked down at all the judicial judges, and most of them lost by less than 3%. Many of them were a lot closer than that. So I'm saying it becomes very obvious that we're missing, not having paper ballots. I think the bigger problem could be the machines.
And that's one of the reasons why we filed a suit to check that process. Now, here's the other thing about that suit. There's several investigations. There's going to be 2 legal investigations going on. One's from Harris County Republican Party. The other one's going to be from the DA. So you will be able to find ill will intent. I mean, look, Lena's staff has already been indicted. And some of them still on her. You don't think nothing's suspicious in our minds? I mean, that's Kim Owens. She's a Democrat, and she's fighting against a Democrat. So there will be things uncovered. There will be things uncovered. And this information will be used for those candidates those defeated candidates by less than 1 or 2%. Maybe all of them will. I know what for a fact one candidate will not, but that evidence will be used, and they will file saying, hey, I want this to be recounted. And they will have to go through and reconcile all that. They have to.
Let me explain to you about the machines. That the suspicion that Alan Vera has articulated quite a bit is that they are not properly maintained and calibrated, and forcing them to answer questions and produce schedules in this process may very well open up doors to start investigating even further about these machines that don't reconcile and the things that get done wrong.
So, in early voting, I did electioneering 5 different days in the afternoon at the same location. I ended up being a poll watcher. So I know that they had these machines. Now they don't, on early voting, they don't tear down and set the machines up every day, do they? Okay, so then the weekend transpires and then another day. So what happens to these machines during that weekend? Are they at the end of early voting, they go down to Central Count or wherever at NRG, and they get reprogrammed, and then they're asked to be picked up by the presiding judge, and they're set back up again?
No.
What happens?
No, the controllers sometimes get picked up and adjusted and reset for not taken off of early vote and put on to election day. The scans all go back at the end of early voting, and do we believe that they actually recalibrate those and set them up? I don't, but that's theoretically what happens. The controllers sometimes, the scans always, the duos almost never. So if you have broken machines during early voting, they leave them there for election day.
Okay,
No, they
one
sent
other-
it to me with a sign that says broken, do not use.
Another question.
They did that to us.
What is there's a case here that's opened up, that has a modem in it. What's that modem for?
Oh, because the signal really sucks in a lot of places. Tracy G, we use
What's
that.
it? What are they using it for?
No, it's your Wi-Fi.
Local Wi-Fi.
Well, when you
Right,
go
MiFi?
your
The
iPad,
e-poll books.
The MiFi?
your e-poll
It's your
books,
MiFi.
your poll books.
I understand.
So they
Because
can watch
you
and
can vote
listen to
anywhere
you.
in the county, so it has to be.
But
connected.
isn't that a channel of communication?
Not for votes.
Okay,
no.
see, your iPads are over here
Yeah.
connected to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
They never touch. The only time they ever interact in any way with the voting machines is this one. The voting check-in has a barcode scanner that scans whatever's on the iPad. That's the only connection they ever have. All the rest of them, none of them are online. None of them are connected from the internet or in any way using that.
And you sure?
To the best of my knowledge, based on, 2.5 years of working in early voting, that's as best an answer as I can
I'm
give you, but I
observing
can't.
somewhere
remember.
around
what it's
11
supposed
o'clock,
to
but
be.
at exactly the same time, both scanners go down at the same time. Two of them, they go down at the same time. They're not connected to one another. They're somehow connected somewhere, and then they start working again at the same
Maybe it
time
was
a
an
half hour
electrical
later.
Those are the kind of things that we need to get reported so that
It's
we can
reported.
show.
I got
Yes, if you've
reports
reported
here.
it, that's great. Because what we're gonna get without reports and what we've always gotten from them without a systematic reporting system like this is, oh, they're blowing up conspiracy theories again. They will keep accusing us of making stuff up. This time, they can't do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I talked to a number of polling judges in different locations, and similar to him. Not one of them was able to reconcile their numbers at the end of the day. Not one.
That's hard.
And they weren't off a little bit.
Right.
I mean,
They were off a lot.
I'm with you on that. There was just no way. They're going back and forth, and I'm trying to figure out what they're
See,
doing.
that needs to go to defendmyballot.org. But I think that was one of the cases you guys had to deal with, is that when they opened it that morning, it wasn't even reconciled. It had some votes on there. So.
No, ours did.
No, I know. But that's what you do. That's what you're going to do with these investigations. You find out things like that.
I mean, but
Yeah.
there were three different numbers. The
quicker we-
scanner, the controllers, and the e-poll book, all had different numbers.
Yes, you're not the only
I'm
one.
gonna tell you, and I showed this to Deborah just a while ago. In my email, I get copied on everything that goes to the state for the Harris County reporting. And not the defend my ballot stuff, that's internal, but the state reporting comes to me. They blew up my email. I'm gonna have to get a new email account because nothing else is coming through except all these reports of things exactly like that. It's giving me nightmares. I can't.
So it
even
is a
look at
big
it.
problem.
Yes, and the more that reporting comes in, the more the lawyers are gonna be able to start asking questions for us.
So,
Let me ask him.
I was gonna try to solve your problem because they just started, counting the early voting ballot days.
Well, I'd like to add to that. Actually, what they did is they announced early voting illegally. They announced the early voting totals before the polls had closed, and that's one of the other issues that they're investigating.
well, I went down to NRG Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday, and I observed the EVBB. And as a poll watcher, I didn't have a clue as to what they were really doing, and I was talking with the PJ, very courteous, and same with the AJ, and they were trying to explain to me, but I gotta tell you, before a poll watcher goes down there, they need to have appropriate training so they can understand what's going on without getting in the way.
And this is the kind of time that we need to build in now for 2024, because if you think it was bad now,
Wait till it's a presidential.
yes, the stakes are so much higher. So we were in a really panicked time crunch to get enough poll watchers and to get enough people recruited who could do that stuff. Now we're going to be able to train them a lot more deeply to look for when they get up to NRG.
Should we contact, because I sent my report primarily to Alan Vera, so he understands.
Alan's the dude. Alan's
So it went
in
to
charge of all
him,
that.
and then I copied and pasted a lot to the, what was it, the Secretary of State or whatever, not the affidavit, but the compliance thing that we were sent.
Right.
And I basically copied and pasted everything in there. So, anyway, I mean, all I saw was just, the thing is, I didn't see any overt actions done by any of the clerks or any of the judges. It was just mayhem for a while, and then at the end of the day, it was so freaking confusing. There's no point.
We've got to recruit more people to do all the things, and you know better what to look for as a poll watcher if you've been a poll worker. So we need to start there.
I agree.
Well,
I also did some of the early voting ballot board poll watching, And this is my first time doing it. I hadn't had any training. I just wanted to contribute somehow. I had some time, so I did it a little bit in the last 3 days. And I spoke with the presiding judge there, Sarah Syed. And one thing she was complaining about is all the provisionals that are not signed by the PJ in the polling location. And that's what the thing, and the funny thing is, I was watching that yesterday, and as soon as I got out of there and I turned on my phone, I got a note about from the Republican Party saying, hey, PJs and AJs, don't go down there and sign them if they're not yours that you did. Make sure that before you sign it, you know how many provisionals you had, and that you recognize your own work. If you legitimately didn't sign one, you can fix it, but if they're presenting you something you've never seen before, don't sign it, Well, so I got interested in that, and I asked her today, and I said, now, are you finding out that there's more of these missing judge signatures in this election than other elections? And she said, well, because it's a larger election, she thought it was proportional, okay? And I said, are you finding it's the same judges that are doing it, or is it spread out and all the judges are missing a few? And she said, no, it's certain judges. And she said, there's one judge that didn't sign 36 of them. 36 provisionals without signing it, okay? And then she said, there was one Republican PJ that came in and refused to sign 2 of his. And he said he didn't recognize him, and so he walked out. Well, if he didn't recognize him, then that walking out was the right thing. So I didn't say that to her, but that's what I was thinking at the time. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
We didn't
I
have
can
a
tell you,
ballot
a
until
couple days ago,
8 o'clock.
I got a call from Harris County, and they asked me if I would come down to NRG. I was the AJ, not the PJ. They asked me if I would come down to NRG and sign the provisional, because the PJ hadn't signed it. And I said, wait a minute, I didn't see it. I can't witness something that I didn't see. But I'm sure a lot of that went on, and I'm sure a lot of those people, I bet they got signatures on a lot of those that had never even been involved in the process.
That was tried on me.
Folks, we're about ready to wrap it up.
Yes.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here this evening and sharing, and we look forward to seeing you on December the 13th. Thank you. Bill, if you shut us down.
Oh, can I see the one slide from the very last one? Everybody.